forgot to unmute my mic for a while, but we are now live. But no, it's not just in your imagination, Latte Milky. Ken was actually just messing around with the widget on OBS.
Yeah.
I was initially a little bit freaked out about it as well. I was like, whoa, this widget is actually like adjusting according to how long or how big the actual numbers were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all magic behind the scenes.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, welcome back to the Drawing Table podcast, where we will be having chill and casual conversations about art and, of course, creating it as well. I am your host, Jourdan Tuffan.
And also Ken Darmadi.
And for today's episode, we're planning to really put the chill back into chill session, as we are going to be talking about our favorite childhood influences growing up, and also about how it has influenced us as artists as well. It's really great to see you guys in the chat as well, Kuya JP and X Trident. And the funny thing as well is that Ken and I were doing a test stream on another channel, just what we normally do before starting a podcast.
That's supposed to be a secret, man.
Yeah, but we won't give more details than that. And funnily enough, Kuya JP managed to find our channel somehow, and and just happened to catch us in the act.
Mm-hmm. And we managed to invite him or her to this podcast. So it's really good to see you here. Yeah, and if you notice as well, on the stream right now, you can see that there's chat box
on the
up
top
here.
right above Ken. So
it should be more interactive.
Yeah. So that also means that whatever you say will now be on the internet forever. So yeah, just be mindful of that, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, Xylin, great to see you in the chat as well.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So today, wait, have we talked about what we're gonna do? We're gonna
be talking about our childhood influences and how that has shaped our growth as artists as well. We're not planning to make this seem academic or educational in any sort of way. We actually wanted to get back to our roots. And for some of you, you might already know the reason why we started the podcast was because we were watching Heavy Polly's stream with Von Ling. Wait, no, not with Von Ling, with Darren Quach. Von Ling is Heavy Polly himself. And they were nerding out over cars. And we thought it was really endearing and heartwarming in a way to just see two artists that we admire just talking about things that they were really excited about. And I think a lot of us have started drawing art or started art because of something in our childhood. Maybe some TV show that has inspired us, or maybe we were so inspired by the stories that we read that we wanted to start drawing them out. And whatever it is, we just wanted to revisit it and hopefully bring back some nostalgia for you guys, and maybe even remember the reason why we started drawing in the first place. As I think sometimes we're so caught up with the pursuit of our career and ambitions that it gets all muddled up and mixed up with all of these other impure emotions.
For sure. I think the longer you are in this industry, the more that you kind of lose that sense of purpose of why you're here in the first place. This starts to become more of a job instead of something that you do because you like it or because you're passionate about it. And feeling that way for a long period of time kind of kills your passion. So it's always good to look back to where your roots are, right?
Because I remember when I was drawing as a kid, I would pretty much not care what people had to say. Sure, it would be nice to get compliments from friends, teachers, or parents when you showed your drawings to them. But in the end, I did it because of myself. I didn't really care about how good or bad it looked. And I was just satisfied with the joy that I had from creation itself. I don't know if that was the same for you as well, Ken, or you guys in the chat too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. While we're doing this podcast, we also want you guys to also join in on the conversation. So please type on the chat what you're influenced by or things that you're nostalgic about as we talk about what we're nostalgic about. So please join in.
And what
Keep
we're
it.
planning
We're
to
gonna
do
keep it
too.
really casual.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry,
So
go
please
ahead.
join in, guys. And we're also going to be pulling up some images, just searching them as we chat of the things that really inspired us, or maybe a strong memory that it has. So if you guys have any that inspired you when you were younger, just drop it in the chat. Maybe we can nerd about it together, and we'll also show it and share it with everyone else as well.
Oh yeah. Don't be shy to share where you came from.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think we can also start by doing a little bit of update on ourselves, Jourdan.
Oh yeah, sure. And I think it would be good time to also show the finished image that you've been doing for the previous design jam, Ken, because I've already finished my illustration of or redesign of Alberta, which is from the game Ragnarok Online, which is one of the biggest influences for me growing up, and we'll touch upon that later on. But Ken was a little bit late on finishing his image,
Yeah.
but he finally has, and I think it would be really cool if you could show it to the guys in the chat if they haven't seen it yet, Ken.
Okay. Yeah. Gonna switch it to my screen for a bit.
So let's try. There we go. See, we've been working some live streaming
Look at
magic
that.
here. Just
So
isn't that
fancy.
awesome, guys. Yeah. We're still working it out. It's still a bit buggy, but I think this would be a great way to enhance the viewing experience a little bit.
Yeah. So as you can see, I finished this piece, and this is Nibelheim from Ragnarok Online. If you've played the game, I've never actually in the official servers. I've never actually played until I reached Nibelheim. Pretty sure I stopped before the update because the grind was just too much.
I know. And I was just too much of a noob. I was like early in my high school days, and I had no idea how to distribute my stats, how to progress, and even the idea of perseverance and things like that. And I would just hit to around like level 30, 36 as a swordsman and have like really shitty stat distributions.
Yeah. And yeah, this is the finished piece, but as you can see, there's still a lot of like random brush marks, which I try to leave out on the image itself, because I'm kind of going in the direction where I'm going for the overall mood instead of going into the pixel details. You know.
I think it turned out really nicely, Ken. If I had a look at it as a Ragnarok fan, I would instantly know which area it is. And of course, it's because you have a Lude and a Koof as well.
Yes. Thanks for the
just
feedback.
Traveling. Yeah, no worries.
Just added some monsters at the back.
Just to really, I think, make the image feel a little bit more populated rather than just empty streets.
Yeah.
And no, it's not a small worm latte milky. It's more like the monsters that reside in that area. So I think, you know what? This would be just a good way to start things off. Is actually Ragnarok Online, because it's an influence that both of us share, Ken. Or at least a childhood game that we both have shared. And I think it would also be a good idea to throw it as a question to the audience. How many of you here have heard of Ragnarok Online or played it? And hey, Ross Baxter, it's really great to have you in the chat, and welcome.
Yeah. Welcome to the podcast.
Yes.
We just started, so you haven't missed anything. Yes, exactly. I think we can start by talking about when we first started playing. Okay, when did you first start, Jourdan?
For me, it was around grade 7. So I think that's like back in 2003 and 2004. So the story for me is that back then I was in high school back in Jakarta, and I had heard nothing about this game. And I think back then, because there wasn't like YouTube, or I wasn't aware of any websites that were announcing new games and all, and I was just so out of the loop, the way that I actually found out about it, and maybe some Indonesian peeps in the chat can relate to me here, is that I was going to a bookstore, and I think that was when back then the bookstore Karisma was still around. It's not Gramedia, if I recall correctly. But I just saw this book, and I was just looking at the cover, and it was filled with gorgeous illustrations of fantasy characters, so like knights, a hunter, a priest, and things like that. And I was instantly drawn to the cover itself. And I think you did something to your screen. No, I think it's all good.
I'm trying to share my my window so I can show screenshots of Ragnarok.
Or maybe you can find that illustration on the book. And it was published by magazine company, game magazine publisher called Game Station. How many of you guys in the chat remember Game Station? And they published the guidebook for this game. And when I looked at it, I realized that it wasn't just a book with illustrations or a comic, but instead it was a guidebook for the game itself. Yes! Oh my god. Yes. This exact book.
Yeah, yes. And then they also released the the updates.
Oh yes, that was much later on. And look at that guy. That guy has a what do you call it? A name tag on it. Back then, I think a lot of parents just labeled their kids' belongings.
Oh yeah.
With,
yeah.
I had that too.
I remember. Yeah, I remember my mom just putting stickers or writing manually on my comics, so it doesn't get lost.
And it would be great. I'm grateful for it, but then to the point that when she would put it on things that I wanted to keep pristine, like I think my video game cartridges, she would still have my name on it, or on the PlayStation. I'm like, no, I wanted it to be like clean and pristine and looking like it just came out of the box. But now it's been like tainted.
Yeah. But, let's go back to the guidebook, because it's such a memorable book, because the cover is really awesome. And then I think one of the special thing about it is that one of the sections is actually a comic compilation.
Yes.
And there's a lot of fan art, fan comics, right?
Oh yes, I remember now that you said it, Ken.
Wait, there's this other one with the Amatsu update.
Oh yes, and they actually hosted like a comic contest as well. And I remember being so inspired by it when I was younger. It's like, how are these guys drawing so damn well?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yes,
contest.
And Evan as well said that, did you buy the comic compilation by Game Station? I remember so clearly Yuniarto was the first rank winner, and that name, you know what, is so familiar to me now.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Yeah, he won the first place, and I think his comic is also on the first one in the book. And I remember that he drew so well that it inspired me to also draw a lot of Ragnarok stuff.
Oh, and Ken, by the way, put your webcam overlay above the layer of the screen share. Your face has disappeared.
Oh yeah. Good point.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Oh, this one. I remember.
You know, it's like bringing back so many. Yes. Oh man. These memories have just been buried deep down somewhere in the recesses of my mind, and all of it is just flooding back right now. Man,
I'm pretty sure I still have the book back in my parents' place. Oh, I should have brought it.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, sorry guys.
You can actually read the whole comic.
Oh man. So good. I'm actually getting a little bit emotional in a way, because all of these childhood memories. And I'm remembering just being so inspired by it when I was younger.
I don't think I
Oh
can
shoot. I'm
see
sorry
it
to hear that,
anymore.
Evan, that your book got lost in the flood. And for me, even though I still had it, the book in my grandmother's house, sometimes it just gets thrown away with time because people don't realize the nostalgic value about it as well, and they just throw it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
Hey, Vyuki.
Hey Vyuki, great to see you in the chat.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the thing about moms sometimes, is that they don't see the value. And I remember that I had a guidebook for a game that I really love just looking through, because like I said, back then the internet wasn't as comprehensive, so sometimes you would get like almost exclusive artwork in the guidebook that you wouldn't find anywhere else. So I kept them for inspiration. But I remember coming back from holidays at one point to Indonesia and seeing the guidebook for one of those games given to one of my maid's child, who was so young and didn't even know how to read.
Oh.
And I was like, what is it doing there? Like, I mean, I get it if it's like a children's book that I no longer find value in, maybe. Right. Or if it's like a storybook, but this is a guidebook for a game that the kid probably doesn't have as well. And I was like, I don't know whether to get angry as well. And yeah, I was like, okay, forget it. Now there's the internet. I don't really need it.
I'm actually quite lucky because my parents still save a lot of my old drawing books. Because I remember back when I was a kid, I used to draw on this A3 drawing books that my grandma gave me. Yeah. And then I just started drawing like things like Dragon Ball, Doraemon, or Ninja Hattori. I remember those three things. I just kept drawing all day. And I'm pretty sure they still have it. I'll have to check, but I'm pretty sure they still have it.
You'll have to bring that sometime, Ken. Just show it to us.
Yeah. Because my dad used to say that these things are precious. Like when I get old, you can actually get some value out of them. Not only monetary wise, but nostalgic wise.
See,
I guess
that's the thing. Your dad has the right idea. Like kudos to him. Yeah. Because for me, I think my mom's more about like, make way for the new and clear out the old. Or she doesn't at least seem to keep things with just for the sake of nostalgic value. And just going back on the topic with my mom, with my old belongings, she also sold some of the old games that I used to play on like Game Boy Advance and things like that, and just sell it on eBay.
Seriously, on eBay?
Without asking me. It's one thing if I was like, Jourdan, do you still want to play these games? I'm like, nah, just sell it or like throw it. I don't need it anymore, and it's on eBay, whatever. But these are games that I kept just on the off chance that in the future I might want to come back to them. But I don't have any of it right now.
Did you used to buy actual original GBA games?
I did. These are real games, Ken. I'm not talking about like the bootleg Game Boy Color games with like 64 in one full color.
Yeah.
But those were awesome. And it seems like quite a few people could relate to my story about parents not appreciating nostalgic value. And about those games as well, Ken, like they also had like all of the versions of Pokemon, so like yellow, blue, red, and all of those things as well.
Yeah. And I think I used to buy the bootlegs ones instead of the originals. Because I'm not sure why. Probably because it was cheaper and also it came with a lot of games. So as a kid, you just tend to get more attracted to those because hey, I get more games in one cartridge.
Yeah, exactly. It's good
just
value,
one.
and it's like the price of like one cartridge, you know.
Yeah. And
So
hello,
there's like
Kat,
all these random
Katie Cole.
Katie Co. Yeah, welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, we're just talking about our childhood.
Yeah.
And right now we're looking back
I
at
feel like right
Game
now
Boys.
it's at the part where we're talking about like our painful memories of like having some of these childhood memorabilia and like these what do you call it? These things that hold so much memory and value for us being thrown away by our parents.
Mm.
Oh my gosh. And even Evan has this, just typed up in the chat now. I remember when my parents burned my Pokemon cards. That is brutal,
That
man.
sucks, man. My card was burned.
Oh, here's a really
Beyblades.
interesting story. I know we're kind of jumping from one place to another, but just on the last thing on Ragnarok, the reason why I stopped playing Ragnarok online was that back then I guess I was quite addicted to it. So I was playing a lot of it, you know, and my my parents were obviously not happy with that. But the tipping point for me was actually during one night, this one specific night. I think I had night terrors or something like that. So I woke up in the middle of the night, like just trembling and almost like kajang. It's like almost like having seizures in a way. And I was like, at least that's what my parents told me. And I have no idea why that happened. It's the only time in my life when I had that happen. And I was conscious when that happened too. I remember my parents bursting in the door to see me in that kind of state.
Okay.
And guess what? Guess how this ties back to Ragnarok Online.
You had a nightmare because you were playing in a dungeon or something? I don't know.
No. That would be a little bit more of a rational explanation. My parents said that it was because I was possessed by the spirit of the game. And that it had gripped me.
What?
And as a result, that was the last day that I played Ragnarok Online, and I was banned from that.
My God.
Because they thought that Ragnarok had an evil spirit that possessed me.
I see. Well, are your parents what do you call it? Superstitious?
Yeah, I would say so. But man, how could I argue back then? You know, I was like,
right.
I was still young, and I was like, yeah, maybe. But of course, I was protesting. But like, what could I say? I was still relying on them to give me money for the vouchers. So what can I do?
Yeah, those vouchers are so expensive.
Yeah, I know.
Because
Especially
I think
back
for
then.
I think they started with the vouchers in when it came out or something. But it was one of the games that actually came out with vouchers other than Nexia. Have you played Nexia before?
I heard of it.
Okay, but yeah, it was quite expensive. I think for a month of playtime, you had to buy it for 100,000 or something.
Oh, it's
And
crazy, honestly.
it was not cheap for a primary school student.
Exactly. That was like back then when your school lunch probably costed like 10,000 or something.
Yeah, or even less actually.
Yeah, that's true actually.
Because back then, comic books are like 7,000, 6,000.
Oh yeah.
So it's really cheap.
Yeah, I don't blame my parents honestly for wanting me to stop, even if it is just under the pretense of possession, protecting their child from possession.
Yeah, and but the game itself. Let's talk about the game itself and why it captivated us.
Oh yeah, But let's read out a few comments from the chat as well. There's some really funny ones. Yeah, and Evan said, like, my mom also told me that Pokemon will possess me, lol. And Karta says, you were possessed by the spirit of Baphomet. Baphomet is one of the bosses in the game. Especially powerful one in vanilla RO, actually.
Yeah, in the early days.
Yeah, that's hilarious. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, Ken, for me, Ragnarok had a huge influence just because of the artwork itself. I think back then I was already a fan of anime and also playing a lot of JRPG games, but I was only playing single player RPG games at the time. And to have a game that allowed you to play multiplayer and having a huge graphics update back then from like just Game Boy Color games and Game Boy Advance games to something that was like almost a 3D world and fluidly animated sprites, it really captured my imagination. And the designs itself were amazing. Maybe you can pull up some of them, Ken.
Let's see if there's some vanilla screenshots. Let's Google.
Or maybe you can show the artwork as well, Ken.
Oh yeah.
Some of the classes. I think that would be a little bit easier to find. And even now, I actually look back at some of the artwork and say there's some really cool designs. Because I do think what makes them so good is that they base a lot of their character designs off of real life references as well. So some of the cities were heavily based on real life locations, and even with the classes, sure they might be very heavily exaggerated, but I think that each of their design is quite simple and it represents the role of each class really well. Without necessarily going over the top, it's still quite believable to me. What do you think?
I think in a lot of ways, these character designs kind of influence what we think of a certain stereotype is, right? So like a merchant, I mean, back then, for example, like a merchant, they'll carry a backpack, and then thief, you have this kind of sleek outfit with goggles. It just kind of shape the stereotype for us, right?
Exactly.
But
it works.
Yeah,
it works well.
Yeah, for sure. But I think the newer designs, starting with the Job 3, I believe.
I think that's when it got really crazy, and they had a different
artist. Like this one, starting to become quite different.
That's not Job 3, Ken. That's Job 2.
Not.
But then there's Job 2 Transcendent.
This one.
And then there's Job 3.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy, but I still like it, I will say. The even newer ones, I think that's when it gets too crazy. Like these ones, it feels like a generic Japanese kind of anime character design without any real life basis on it.
Yeah, let's just look back at the OG.
Yeah, exactly.
The OG is good.
See, even the swordswoman, and for example, it might not be realistic armor, but it's not like bikini armor or anything like that. And even with the hunter character as well, we see that it makes sense because they're not meant to be heavily armored and they're meant to be more agile and dodge things more easily. So it makes sense to me,
Yeah, these OG designs. I remember the knight. It's so cool.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, I love that design even until now. Like the armor articulates properly and it still looks like quite a believable piece of armor.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool. Even now, just looking at it, I'm so inspired.
I remember that the chain mails, I think those are supposed to be chain mails. They're just like squares. Now that I look back at it, it's not so realistic, but it's fine.
But that's
cool.
how I kind of do my stylization of like chain armors now. So that's I think and they have really chunky proportions if you look at it. Like his fist is like bigger than his head.
Yeah.
But I think that's why I kind of like it, or even until now, my sense of stylization is like that, like a bit chunky. It's because they tend to do it that way for their characters. Like they have these like chunky ass boots, things like that. Chonk, big chongus.
Really sad. Reko said, really sad though that the manhwa stopped.
Yeah,
I think
I didn't.
the last I read it until volume 6 or 7, and then I couldn't find the continuation. So I guess maybe that's why. Because I was actually looking forward to the next volume. I think the story stopped when forgot the villain found them in Geffen, and then it just cut abruptly for some reason. Oh yeah, volume 10. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read
But
it, so I wouldn't know.
The manhwa was really cool. And I actually first started playing the game, and then after that I read the manhwa, and then the actual designs of the jobs are actually from the comic instead of the other way around. So
I see.
yeah, so when the story was in Geffen, and then the comic artist drew the crowd, you can actually see the like swordsman, mage. It's the exact same character, like this one,
that's cool.
like this guy here in the crowd. It's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool to know. Alright, I think we've actually dwelt on Ragnarok Online long enough, and I realized that not a lot of people have played this game, but I know one game that most people in the chat probably have played or have heard of, and it was mentioned in the chat earlier, and that is Pokemon. And we also were talking about how we were playing those Game Boy Color games as well, where it had all those games on one cartridge.
Ahead in time? Nah.
I didn't grow up with that.
That's a new game.
Yeah, I'm too old. I'm too old for that.
But yeah, Pokemon. Which version did you play first?
I think it was blue version for me, and yeah, like I said, I was playing the game with like a lot of cartridges, and I think I ended up sticking to blue just because some of the Pokemon that are available in blue version appealed to me more than the ones in red version. Oh. And that blue is my favorite color, so maybe that's what would have skewed my perception as well.
I think blue had Arbok. I forgot.
Oh, I see.
It's one of the snakes.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's subtle differences. I can't quite remember now. You see, back then I would have remembered all of these kind of things. I think difference between like Caterpie and a Weedle or something.
Yeah, that too. Like I played yellow, so I'm pretty sure yellow had both.
Yeah, I also played yellow too, sure. And I was just blown by the improvement in the graphics. If you can pull up some images, Ken, of blue version, like Pokemon versus yellow version, I think it will be quite amazing to see just like the graphical changes. And yeah, when you were young back then, these sorts of changes would just blow your mind. Sprites, maybe type in sprites, Ken. Pokemon sprites. Maybe look at more of the Pokemon. And it's interesting to see like what the first Pokemon game that the people in the chat started off with. Latte Milky says, my first Pokemon game was Diamond. And that was when she was 8 and 9. And X Trident says, that's the game I've never touched. Interesting, actually. I would have sworn that most people would have at least grown with one Pokemon generation or another. And Evan also says, I think my first one was Fire Red or Leaf Green and Ruby and Sapphire. So you started when the graphics were a little bit better.
Yeah, you guys started when It's
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you
well,
guys
when
are
it's
spoiled.
newer.
Wait, so wait, let me see. Blast. And the funny thing as well is that in yellow version, that was like the version when the Pikachu was pretty much following you as well. And you can turn
Yeah,
it
that-
on and chat to it and see the expressions that it had. It was so cute.
That
Wait,
was
look
really
at that.
good.
See,
Oh,
this is a Blastoise in blue version.
the OG Blastoise.
Yes, look at that. And type in
This-
Blastoise yellow version sprite, Ken.
The old sprites are really janky.
Yeah. And that was because they had to fit it within a certain dimension as well, according to their
Yeah, I think
engine
so.
restriction.
This is the OG. This is yellow. Yeah, this is
Oh.
yellow. Yes. Wait.
No,
hold on.
no. This is
Which one is yellow? Oh, I think
neither
this
of them.
one. Neither.
Wait,
Yeah.
no.
I don't remember yellow
really?
being this bad.
No, it's ugly. No, the right is yellow version, I think. Because yellow
know.
also had a little bit more color as well.
Definitely not this one.
I think so, actually. Yes, because yellow came out on Game Boy Color. No, they're both on Game Boy
No.
Color, but it's just it had a lot more color. Yes, this is yellow. Look at that. Look
Are
at
you
the
sure?
Blastoise in this version. Yes, I'm very sure, Ken.
I don't remember.
Yes, this is yellow version. And Pikachu actually looks like the Pikachu that we know rather than some street rat.
Oh, the sprites are really cool.
I know, they're so nice. I was like, how, holy crap, these actually look like the ones from the anime rather than some abomination or bootleg Chinese Pokemon. And that's the funny thing as well, right? When you were growing up back then, there was all these hoaxes online. Like, oh, there's a new version, guys.
Oh, look, sprites comparison. Green, red.
Ah, yes, this
red,
is great.
Blue, yellow.
Yes, this is perfect.
Oh yeah, the yellow one. The yellow one had colors. Yeah.
Yeah, it's had much more saturated color. But do you remember, Ken, that back then there were so many hoaxes and bootleg Pokemon games, especially in Asia? Like you would see that there's a new Pokemon like Black Pearl version. And then there would be some sort of like poorly drawn Pokemon.
Yeah, it's
on
like
the cover, you know.
Cartridges.
Yeah.
something.
And if you bought it, you think like, holy crap, this is the newest Pokemon game. And you can and there was also hoaxes as well, like before you played Pokemon, before Pokemon Silver came out, for example. And I think they named certain characters, like for example, one of the new Pokemon in the new games was Marill, if you remember, the blue looking ball.
What? How do you
type
it?
Marill?
Marill?
Marill.
Oh, this one?
Marril. No, not this one. See,
This
it
one.
kind of looks like a Pikachu of sorts, right? But before it actually came out in English version, and I think Pokemon Silver was already released in Japan. Back then, it was called Pika Blue.
Pika Blue.
And that there was all of these cheats, like back then, you could glitch the game in order to get on. To get Mew as well. If you let the SS and leave at the right time,
and
you
then
would find
you had to move the truck
or a car. Yeah.
Yes.
And there was also Missing No as well. That's the real thing.
Oh yeah, Missing No.
And that's how you got the rare candy cheat. And that's when I figured it out, I felt so powerful.
But I think someone told me that the stats you got out of rare candies is not as good as if
it's
you
not,
level up
because
properly.
Yeah, I think it's because it doesn't take into consideration like EV training as well, which is determined by the type of Pokemon that you kill.
Man,
And
that's just hardcore Pokemon.
Exactly. Oh, you wouldn't believe how crazy people get, with like breeding and trying to get the perfect IVs and EVs and training and all that kind of stuff. And the
I
crazy
just
thing
play
about Missing
Pokemon
No,
for fun, man.
I know, but here's the thing with Missing No as well. I think now that we're older, we know that Missing No stands for missing number. It's like a missing ID probably in the data files. But I remember all of these legends and myths that were surrounding Missing No as well, saying that, oh, it's actually like the ghost of dead Pokemon as well.
Yeah.
And because back then internet wasn't as developed, people could come up with all of these like shady rumors on the playground, and it would spread from one person to another.
Yeah, they just make urban legends.
Exactly.
Out of nowhere.
But that was what's so great, I think, about back then.
Mm-hmm.
During your childhood, you were so naive, and it just made things so exciting when you would just try out all of these cheat codes or even all of these supposed tricks. Like, for example, in order to make sure that the Pokemon is 100% capture rate regardless of any type of ball that you use. For me,
you have to press B or something.
Yeah, left, right, AB, left, right, AB. And I know that wasn't true after a while, but somehow every time I play a Pokemon game, I still do it even until now. And it just made me feel more secure just because I've been doing that from such a young age and throughout most of the Pokemon generations that I played.
I think what I learned is that you have to time the button press to the way the Pokeball moves. Like when it moves, you have to time it according to the timing.
I don't think that's how it works, obviously. Like, why would a game developer put that in,
Yeah. But
man, as a kid, you would believe anything pretty much.
Yeah, it's really funny.
And I think just to tie it back to the main topic of conversation is how it influenced us. For me, I would used to ask my dad actually to draw Pokemon a lot for me back then, just trying to copy it straight from the official artwork. And I used to do the same as well, just do a lot of fan art, just trying to copy it. And I think that really shaped the way that my design sense is. I like the stylization and the simplicity of it all. And even the way, like, for example, like looking at Charizard, the way that you draw wings, for example, or Golbat. That's how I used to draw wings for a long time because I used to draw so much fan art of them. And even in terms of drawing the eye, yeah, exactly. And drawing the eyes as well. One of my favorite Pokemon of all time is Gyarados. And when I would draw dragons, a lot of it would kind of look like Gyarados in a way.
It kind of still does this face when you draw today.
Me?
Yeah, you still draw. You still draw faces like this. I think.
I mean, it's been so long since I've drawn anything creature related, but man, even now, I still think he's one of the most badass looking Pokemon. And
now looking back at it, I don't get why his body is segmented like this.
Yeah, it's true. And Cartel also says, you know what other Pokemon game that's super awesome? Pikachu Volleyball.
Never played it.
I did not play that actually. No, that's actually one that I didn't play. I heard about it for sure, but I didn't play it.
Let me see.
But yeah, it's so cool back then, like realizing that you can train a useless Pokemon like Magikarp to grow into a Gyarados.
Wait, I remember playing this.
Oh right,
it's cool. During IT lessons, like we just play this.
Yes, I remember now. I was so trash at it, honestly.
There's no animation, Adi. The sprites were just static back then, so no animation.
Or it's like really primitive animation. But But yeah, and how it also influenced me as well was that back then I would try to um, create my own trainers. Like I would design my own trainers, for example, imagining how they would be in game, and I would formulate my own team in the game as well, basing it off of like what the trainers party would be like. And I would challenge my brother, for example, saying that, can you beat this gym leader I just created?
So you're role playing as a gym leader.
Yeah, pretty much. And it was so much fun for me trying to create the gym leaders and trying to think about what kind of theme would this gym leader have. And even back in grade school, I remember when I was in grade 5 when I first moved to Australia, that I had this one friend during lunch, and she was really into Pokemon as well. And we weren't allowed to bring games to school, right? So what I would do with her is that I would try to create a Pokemon paper RPG of sorts, and we would calculate the stats on paper, calculate the damage using that, and I would remember like coloring in the health bar manually using a pencil, and every time that there would be damage, I would erase it. Of course, the calculations were really whack and off because I was, just in the 5th grade, but I would remember doing that and just doing it by imagination, really. And creating the trainers and then doing it pretty much every lunch. And man, that's like one of the strongest memories I have when it comes to my childhood. It was like so much fun for me to do it.
Yeah, I remember also doing some sort of paper RPGs and then doing exactly like you said about erasing the health bar whenever the character took damage. Guess that's a thing everyone did back then.
Did you guys in the chat do it as well? Like maybe with your friends or maybe with your siblings as well? It would be really cool to know that we're not the only ones that have done it. I think that was like my way of trying to make my own game at the time, because there's so limited tools back then. Or at least they're not as good as they are now, of course.
Yeah. And
that was something I did with Pokemon.
Yeah. Speaking of Pokemon, there's another series that's also quite influential for both of us. It's called Digimon.
That's true.
And personally, Digimon had a more profound influence on me instead of Pokemon. Because back then, I woke up every Sunday morning to watch cartoons, and Digimon is like one of them. And I remember the original one was airing, and then it ended, and then it continued to the second one, and then the third one, and then the fourth one. But I just kept watching from the first episode till the end of the fourth series. So I was quite a huge fan of Digimon back then.
I actually played a lot of Digimon too, and that was back then when you had the small Digivice. It basically an evolution of Tamagotchi.
Yes.
I didn't watch the anime though. I was much more into Pokemon, but I bought a lot of those Digivices.
I had this one.
See, that's the older one. I had like the earliest one where it's like a box, literally just a box.
This one, right? Yeah, I had this one too.
And X-Trident pretty much just encapsulated the gameplay of those Digivices. So you see, guys, back then when it came to entertainment, instead of having like a fancy phone right now with all of the amazing graphics and sophisticated combat, back then we used to have these small devices that would fit in our pocket and would only display like 8-bit graphics. And basically just imagine that you're raising a virtual pet within that small device of yours. And the way that you would raise it is by feeding it at the right time, making sure you don't overfeed it, to clean up its poo and all of its droppings as well. And if you didn't, it will fill up the screen and they would get really sick and they can die.
Yeah. And
So
you know what's actually cool is that you can actually connect two devices and then do battle between one another.
And that's where Trident's saying like the shake that Digivice comes into play. Is that the way that you win is that you shake it faster than the other person can.
Oh, I don't remember actually, but what I do remember is that I attended one of a competition, and then I lost in the first round because I just didn't know how to play it. But I entered it because it looked fun. Oh, I have
you
this
didn't
one.
shake it hard enough.
Maybe I had the black one.
Oh, that's cool. Man, how can you be good in that kind of competition? Like, what determines like your ability as a player?
You just have to have the right muscles.
Man, Evan, if you say it that way as well, like, oh man, I remember I keep shaking my Digivice day and night. It somehow sounds really rough. And Latte Milky also says, I survived being Tamagotchi owner for like years until like I was in high school. And that's awesome. Because for me, I was such a bad Digimon owner. And basically the quality of your Digimon evolutions would be determined by
how you took care of the
you took care
Digimon
of
itself, right?
Actually, Ken, why don't you look up a Digivolve chart or Digivolution chart? Because so what I'm trying to show is that if you don't take care of it properly, there's this one evolution line where your Digimon literally turns into like a pile of shit. Well, maybe not this one.
This one's too good.
Yeah, too good. But just look for a Digimon that looks like literal pile of feces, Ken.
This one.
Alright, there we go.
I'm not a
this
robot.
is great. This is actually a really
what
good
the
one.
hell?
Well, this is one of the earlier Digivices that I had. Maybe just look at it from the Google preview, Ken.
Yeah, it's blurry. Here, this one.
I see.
Oh, what? Still blurry. Damn.
Well, I'll just keep on explaining as well. So, being a kid, I was just so horrible at taking care of my Digimon. And what ended up happening is that I would always get this pile of crap as the Digimon that I always got. However, the payoff was that if you took care of that pile of crap really well, it would actually evolve into one of the most powerful ones of the final evolution stage.
What did it evolve
You can type
to?
in the name. You can type in the name, Ken. Like Reko and Evan said Sukamon and Numemon. So, for example, one of the ones that I got was actually an Androidmon, I think. I was so proud when I finally got... Yeah, see? Literal pile of crap. And I actually managed to evolve one of mine into a really powerful one. I was so proud of it.
Oh, it can turn into a bear. What?
Exactly. That's actually Monzaimon, I think.
Yeah. So weird.
But yeah, it's so funny. But I still really love the designs, honestly.
Yeah. I think I like Digimon more because for some reason it just like the whole series felt a lot cooler than Pokemon, and
I
also
see.
because the designs are more varied.
Yeah,
It's
I
just a
agree.
lot more mature in a way. But
Sort of.
I think that's kind of its downfall. Not a
It
downfall,
got
but
too crazy, I think.
too crazy exactly. And then that's why it got too complex and not become as famous as Pokemon.
Hmm. So for
No,
you guys in the
I
chat
like
that
both,
also
but I
watch
like Digimon
Digimon.
more.
Uh-huh. So for those of you guys in the chat that actually have watched Digimon, what are some of your favorite ones? I'm curious to know. And I can show you mine actually. This is one of mine, and I can paste it in the chat so that can I'll post it on the Discord, Ken.
Okay. Green Devimon. Oh.
So this was the one where
Oops.
it was themed as marine creatures.
Green Devimon. Oh. Oh, this is the first villain in the anime.
Oh really? Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
I did not know
Not
that.
not the marine, but the OG
Oh, I
Devimon.
see. I like marine Devimon. So I'm gonna read out some of the comments in the chat as well. Xtrident says Gallantmon is love. So I'm not familiar with that one. And
Oh, that's
Evan
from
says,
Tamers. Oh yes,
I
yes, I love
guess
this.
Black War Greymon. And Latte Milky says, I remembered playing Digimon DS game and it has so many dramas. And that she likes Terriermon.
Ah,
And
Terriermon.
Reko also says Gaiyomon is pretty cool. It's basically Samurai Wargreymon. Man, all
Never
of
heard
these
of
names
that.
are like some of the newer ones. Oh,
Yeah,
this one.
I think Digimon just got a bit too crazy.
Yeah. I think it's the same with Pokemon too. And in the case
Yeah.
with a lot of Japanese animes, that they always start so tame, but because they always one up themselves, the designs get way too crazy.
Metal build.
I mean, it's badass. I
Digimon.
do think it's badass. But I
Oh,
tend to like my designs a little bit more simple, I suppose.
simple.
And Xtrident says Metal Build Dukemon X. I'm going to buy
Oh,
that one day.
this is so cool.
Oh yeah, it is really cool. But it feels more like Gundam to me, that's the thing.
Yeah, it looks like Gundam.
Mm-hmm.
I think the more powerful evolutions of Digimon are too humanoid in some ways.
Yeah.
Kind of loses the charm of the lower evolution.
Exactly. I really love, like for example, Ken, I linked you one more in the Discord chat, but it's called Gesomon, where it's literally like just like a squid. Or you can type in Gesso. I
This
really
one.
love this design so much.
It's really
And
funky.
I like
It's
it a
really
lot.
funky.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And for a long time, and even until now, you see that pattern on the head. Whenever I draw some sort of like almost not a tribal pattern, but some kind of marking for a creature design or maybe a pattern design, I often repeat those shapes in the middle just because I drew it quite a lot. And
Evan
for a long
says,
time too, I drew those like metallic tubes that are coming out just randomly out of organic creatures.
oh yeah, it has metallic tubes out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And Evan says Jourdan likes Marine Devimon and Gesomon. I think I understand your king better now.
Yo, you know it, Evan.
Yeah.
But I love the marine animals influence expansion.
I think my favorite is the Omnimon. It's like the one of the earliest Omega evolution. It's just really it's the design is still quite simple, but so cool. And when it first appeared in the movie, it was really amazing. I think the villain was like digital, like a digital Digimon, like a virus.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You should look
really
up
love it.
you should look up Nanimon.
Nani?
Yeah, literally like Nani. And I think this has had an influence on like the kind of like strange things that I draw sometimes. Is that I think Digimon has some really like strange designs.
So fun though.
I know, that's why I actually do
Yes.
think that Digimon has a playfulness in their design, and they draw from a lot of influences. Like in certain expansions, they have different themes to it. Like there's one that's like Halloween themed as well, Ken. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. And
Remember a pumpkin head?
type in this one, Ken. Digimon Pendulum 3 Nightmare Soldiers.
What?
I
Pendulum?
pasted on 3 Nightmare Soldiers.
The hell is this? Oh, this
So this is the
Joker
Halloween
here.
theme. Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Oh, I really see those designs. Even now, I think they're really strong designs. They're not overly crazy. Silhouette wise,
Yeah.
they look very interesting, and their shape design, like with the chunky boots, and then it's also distinct and memorable.
I remember watching the anime, and then this Digimon here was so powerful, and then nobody in the main roster could beat it.
Yeah. Oh man, it's just so damn cool, honestly.
Yeah, the
And-
old designs are so nice.
And Evan said Agumon is actually just a Japanese Agnes Monica. But yeah, I really do love Digimon designs as well. And I drew a lot of fan art of it as well. And my dad helped me out too. So yeah, you can say that my dad has had a big influence on me in the sense that he's just helped me just draw a lot of fan art too. And yeah, he would be able to do it a lot better than I could back then. And I think seeing him do it just encouraged me to do a lot more as well.
Man, there's so many Digimons out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes it felt like, sometimes it felt like it's just random fan art that people made.
But isn't that the case though, Ken? It's like also when we are growing up, a lot of the stuff that we are inspired by is to do fan art.
Yeah, for sure. I mentioned just now, mentioned just now that I drew a lot of Dragon Ball, Doraemon, and Ninja Hattori.
So what
They just
other
had
things
such
did
a-
you do fan art of?
When I was a kid, I mostly drew those three, really. And I think Yu-Gi-Oh cards were also super cool, and I drew a lot of the monsters there from the series.
Oh yeah.
'Cause,
Yu-Gi-Oh is also another one for me that played a huge influence in like design.
yeah,
The design.
remember
sense of
Blue
the
Eyes White
intrusion.
Dragon is just so cool looking, so iconic.
Even now.
Yeah,
Even like
for
Dark
sure.
Magician, for example, I do not know what kind of reference Kazuki Takahashi has been looking at, but there's that really chunky shapes that he uses.
Yeah.
And maybe it's
Yeah.
Egyptian, because obviously Yu-Gi-Oh! Draws a lot from Egyptian mythology, but I think he has a very unique design sense that I can't put a finger on until now.
And the way he drew was not like a typical shonen manga.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different and stylized compared to the rest of the series back then.
Oh yeah, I agree. And it looks like we also have some fans of Dark Magician Girl. And I think she's like the first waifu of a lot of people that got into anime and manga.
Maybe it's just yours, Jourdan.
No, hey,
Oh,
read
what?
the chat, man.
Whoa, NSW. Nope. Let's close that. It's really bad.
Oh, we're gonna have to.
You're gonna have to
that
censor that. I'm gonna censor that. That's really bad. Wow, thanks for mentioning that, Evan.
To be fair, it's really bad fan art too, so it's okay.
That's extra editing time.
It's alright. It won't be too much. But yeah, I really like Kazuki Takahashi's design sense, honestly. And he's created so many memorable characters as well.
Yeah. It's black metal dragon. Man, these fusions are so cool.
I know. And Alexander also mentions like Obelisk the Tormentor. Yeah, like the god cards look really cool. Like my favorite probably is Obelisk out of them all. And I would really enjoy reading the manga as well. It's actually one of the ones that I bought all of the mangas from start to finish.
Yeah.
And I would just find it so cool how in the manga, like, Yugi would be able to find a way to beat the opponents, even though he's cheating by relying on the heart of the cards.
Such
a particularly... I know, it's not particularly skillful if you draw the right card at the right time that you never really had in your deck before, but you somehow had, like, the perfect counter to the most, like, niche mechanic that the opponent has introduced.
Oh, actually, let me see if I can pull something from my folders. I don't have it here. Never mind. Yeah.
Oh man, it's the anime is so great too, and it's actually one of the shows that I watched when I was younger on an Australian TV channel when I was living back in Australia, and yeah, just keeping up with the anime too. The anime plot is ridiculous, obviously.
Have you ever watched the abridged version?
Yeah, I have. It's great, actually. It's so funny.
Yeah, my friend introduced it to me. It's so weird because everything's just dubbed. And then they
but
just
it's actually like
talk
really
nonsense.
Nice. The voice was actually really well done.
Oh, Yugi's here back then.
And Extra says, I want Yugi. Yeah, Yugi's here back then. Man, how does that hair even work, honestly? Like, it just follows you whichever angle that you go. I suppose they're still able to translate it to anime figurines somehow.
Yeah.
It would just remind me of, like, the bad Yu-Gi-Oh! Cosplays that they would have as well. Man, that is terrifying.
Oh man, I love figurines like this.
Oh yeah, that is damn cool. And actually, for quite a long time, I used to Yu-Gi-Oh! Influence a lot of the creature designs that I did. And we hinted back then how we used to do like paper RPGs, creating our own items, stats, and pretending to have these battle scenarios that were like turn by turn based RPGs. And I would used to play that with my siblings. And I would remember creating like dragon creatures where a lot of them would kind of look like a cheap Yu-Gi-Oh knockoff.
Wait, why are these figurines so weird? I want to see the cool ones. Do you ever collect figurines like this, Jourdan?
No, I'm not much of a collector when it comes to figurines. They're a bit too expensive, and I don't really have the space, especially if I'm like moving around a lot.
Let me see.
All I did was just buy a lot of cards back then. I think I played a lot of trading cards back then. So like Pokemon, I collected that. Yu-Gi-Oh! And even like Dragon Ball's trading card game, they had one as well too.
Whoa, you're not kidding. One of the newer protagonists has here that is basically just dragon sitting on his head. Wow.
How do you even style that? They're literally wearing like wigs. Not even wigs, it's like a hat.
It's so weird.
I know, what the hell? And well, thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah, I haven't been following the newer series.
I'm glad that I haven't been. And we have one comment as well from Nadi. And she says, I've been lurking for a while, and having you guys talking in the background is pretty relaxing. # wholesome appreciation moment. Thanks for doing the podcast.
Thank you so
much. You both
much.
do a really good job. Yeah, we really appreciate it. And thanks for tuning in. Hopefully that, you've been having maybe some relatable, nostalgic moments while listening to us ramble and just fanboy about certain things. But I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Also suffers some of the same symptoms as like Pokemon and Digimon.
Yeah, exactly. The design just got weirder and weirder.
And Iris Muddy also says, what does that guy's hair look like from any other angle? And that's exactly what I was thinking. Like on manga, you can definitely get away with it where you just draw the head pretty much constantly looking the same from any other angle. But what I want to see is like the figurine of one of those guys as well, and how they managed to model those.
Let's see.
Just that guy with the dragon on his head. Hey, it's also great to have you here in the chat with us today, Iris.
Yeah. Oh, hello. Welcome to the podcast.
And Evan also says, Kazuki Takahashi's hair design. But that's the thing. I don't think like the later ones are made by Kazuki Takahashi. I think he supervises them, but it's not literally him designing it.
Look at this, Jourdan. What's with these characters?
Those aren't even hairs anymore. They literally have like plastic molds just stuck on their skulls.
What the hell?
And that guy has like doesn't even have real abs anymore. Why?
That's weird.
I mean, I get that you have to outdo the previous series or the previous generation, but I mean, there has to be like some other ways of doing it. Ken, you should also look up cosplay. Maybe like type up this character's name with cosplay.
Oh, okay. That looks normal. Okay, this is more like the actual manga.
See this? Wait, okay, this one's normal. See, that guy literally just put up like a hairpiece on the front of his head.
Oh my god.
Oh, they actually look good though. That is amazing, actually.
Wow.
Have you ever thought about
Um,
cosplaying, Ken?
no, not interested in the whole cosplay scene.
I see. I
I,
think it could be
I
fun sometime.
maybe 'cause I don't know. I'm not one that I'm a bit too shy to do these cosplays and acting as other characters. And I've always been bad at acting. And yeah, I've never really done much cosplays and
Yeah.
just not interested in it at all. What about you?
Yeah.
Have you ever done cosplays? Wait,
No.
you did
Not
cosplay as. Wait, no, you did cosplay
Poison
as
Ivy. Wait,
Poison
let me.
Ivy.
Let me. For I don't think some of you guys were aware of this, but a while back, a few years back, the company that I work at, which is Adam Hawk, had a release party. I think that's what we called it. Yeah, a launch party for Injustice 2. And of course,
Nice.
we went to the bar to have a few drinks and celebrate. And they decided to host not an art competition, but a cosplaying competition amongst the studio as well. So I was thinking like, oh, what kind of character can I dress up as? Either I could go down the route of doing a really cool
Oh, there you go.
and
There we go.
sophisticated. Wait, where? Gender
That's
bent,
such a good
gender bent
cosplay.
Poison Ivy. I was close to winning first place.
That's
I think in the
amazing.
costume, or at least like an honorable mention
Wait,
with.
are
like,
you down there? Yes, you're down there.
I was.
Oh my god. Your secret is out, Jordan.
It
Oh.
was never a secret to start, but I was really getting into that role. You should have seen my other photos that are not on the Adam Hawk Instagram. I think it was a little
God.
bit, not safe for work.
Yeah, I could only find this one.
Yeah, that's all that we have.
I dare you
yeah,
to
but
pull
just-
it out.
It's still there, but I think with great powers comes great responsibilities, and unless there's a dire time of need, then I'm not going to be pulling it out anytime soon.
Hmm.
And
Do you,
just reading.
do you
a
guys
few
in the
other
chat
comments.
cosplay?
Yeah, that'll be fun to know. And in the meantime, I'll just
Hmm.
read a few comments from the chat as well. And Extrident, I think, commenting on the Yu-Gi-Oh character. You can take off your hair and use it as a weapon. It certainly looks like it. Just looks like a boomerang that you can throw. And yeah, Nadi also says, "Bruh, I love that. Pick up your weapon from your hair." And Iris says they all have a +2 self-defense from their coil. Oh man, that is amazing though. And imagine like just how much time you have to spend in the morning to get a hairdo like that.
Hmm. I think they're just stuck with that hair. They're
Yeah,
born
they're-
with that hair.
They're just born with that straight out of the womb.
Yeah. Once
Never have a bad
and
hair.
regretted it forever. Huh. That's too bad. Because I know some people who's really into cosplay.
Oh yeah.
Because the cosplay scene is quite passionate,
Yeah, I would say. But I can understand that it might not be for everyone.
Mm.
But man, Ken, like we've actually just been through only a few fandoms. Like we were talking about Ragnarok Online earlier.
Wait,
And
hold on.
then-
You're cutting off. Sorry.
How is it now? Am I okay?
Yeah. I think you're good now.
Yeah. And we've only covered a few fandoms actually, just like Ragnarok Online, Pokemon, Digimon,
Mm.
and a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh as well. But I have so much more actually written down, and I didn't think that we would be able to get through all of it actually.
Yeah. Still so many things that we can talk
know.
about that influenced us.
Oh, I didn't know you play. You know Ragnarok Online as well, Iris, because a lot of people, especially outside of Asia, don't seem to know what it is. But
Yeah.
it's among Ken and I's, I suppose, childhood influences. It's one of my biggest ones for sure.
I know when the War of Emporium, the Guild War, when the patch came out, they held
Yeah.
like international competitions.
Oh yeah, they had
And
world
then
championships as well.
The World Championships, yeah. And then I think USA or Korea dominated the competition.
Oh well, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that too. RO was really big for a while actually.
Mm.
But speaking of games, rather than actually going into in depth for all of them, I think it'll be a good idea just to go through some of the ones that have played a really big influence on us. So if you guys would also want to share some of the games that have really influenced your art style or artistic journey and has been a huge inspiration for you, we'd really love to hear it. So just drop it in the chat. And Ken, we can start with yours actually.
Oh, hold on. Let's get some of the comments. Ragnarok Battle Offline. Anyone? Yeah, I played Ragnarok Battle Offline. Don't really remember much of it. Gunbound. I think Ragnarok Online and then Gunbound were like the two that I played most when I was in primary school. And for the class, I played. Oh, I don't remember. I think I played as Thief. Yes, I played as Thief, and then I became assassin at job level 40. I planned to become an assassin. Yeah, I planned to become an assassin at level 50, but the grind was too much.
But that's the thing, like those stat points won't come back until you trans your class.
I know, but I just wanted to change the job too.
See, you had little patience, Ken. You just want the instant gratification.
It's just too much grinding, man. Those the games back then, so much grinding.
And that's how they like drawn out the longevity of the games. So for me, I didn't play Ragnarok Battle Offline, although I've seen friends play it. Look really cool. And for me, I played a lot of classes. What I started off with was a swordsman, which I wanted to turn into a crusader. But I really messed up the stats early on just by putting in intelligence early on and like luck as well, because I somehow wanted to become a knight at one point too, and I wanted to have a higher crit rate. Because crit is usually like a good thing, right, in RPGs. So yeah, I really messed up my stats and I got nowhere. And yeah, the whole being banned from Ragnarok happened as well. So just to make a long story short, for those of you that didn't hear it earlier, I got banned from it because my parents thought that I was being possessed by an evil spirit that lurked in Ragnarok Online because I had night terrors one day. And yeah, I never played it since then again.
Okay. Well, okay. Let's talk about the games that have influenced us, Jourdan.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Wait, what?
Oh man, I see what you have up on your screen, Ken.
Oh, Suikoden? No, that's Evans. That's Evans.
Oh, I see.
Looking it up. I think the biggest influence for me, well, maybe not the biggest influence, but my favorite series of all time is Kingdom Hearts. I think everyone knows Kingdom Hearts.
Yes.
That's like
I tried playing it actually because it's an RPG game and all, and it was one of the most hyped ones. And I liked Disney, and I also liked some Final Fantasy as well. So I thought,
I think
okay, I would play it.
Yeah, I think that's the first draw of the game for me. Like, there's Final Fantasy mixed with Disney, and it just look really goofy, pun intended, but it works.
I never really got into the combat. The combat for me was a little bit, I don't know. It just felt a little bit too different from a typical RPG game that I was so used to playing back then.
I see. I think I'm the other way around. I found the combat really interesting because it's so different than the other RPGs. You can actually control where Sora goes and when he attacks. And it's more of an action RPG, and I just really like that sort of games. And I mean, the story itself initially was pretty good, but after the second game, something happened, and then everything just became too convoluted.
I see. Probably that would venture into like spoiler territory.
Pretty sure everyone's played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2.
I didn't. So, and some
except you
haven't as well. So, yeah, let's not turn this into a spoiler fest. But yeah, I feel a little bit of a regret in a way not having gotten into it when I was younger, because I feel like I'm missing out in some way. Because it looks like an amazing game for sure.
Yeah, I remember the second game was released, and then it brought a lot of improvements to the camera controls, and the game was much more fluid. It was so good. It's definitely one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
And then back then I competed with my friend, one of my friends. We competed in trying to beat Sephiroth with the lowest level that we can possibly get.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, I don't remember who won, but I remember trying to beat Sephiroth multiple times and just kept dying over and over. But eventually I did beat him in critical mode, which is like the
I have no
hardest
idea what
mode.
that means, but it sounds impressive.
Dude, actually Kingdom Hearts in critical mode, I must say it's even harder than games like Dark Souls.
Really?
Yeah, because one hit of the enemy can kill you. So it's super difficult, but I managed to beat the games.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. So I guess it was like the Dark Souls before Dark Souls.
Somewhat, yeah.
And I
What
guess the
about you?
gameplay is also quite similar too. For me, I didn't play so many games that were like live battles. I think I don't know what you would call it. It's like the ones where you can pretty much move around. What I really grew up on was a lot of turn-based RPGs actually. So one of the ones that I did play was like Suikoden 2. Although I didn't get far because I was playing a pirated version of it. And every time you would get to this one stage, no matter what I did, opening up the CD cover, blowing into it, or trying to do things a little differently, it would never progress past that segment. So I actually gave up on it. But the games that I did finish though, and were actually like legit copies, and also remain some of my favorite game series to this day, is Dragon Quest. Ooh. How many of you guys in the chat actually have played any of the Dragon Quest games?
I played one in Game Boy, I think. Game Boy Color. But I just couldn't find... I think I was stuck at one point and then I just couldn't find a way to continue. So I stopped.
And Xtrian says that never touched it. Wanted to buy the Minecraft one on Switch. Yeah, that's like a really cute looking one. I think it's different from the standard
Dragon
gameplay.
Dragon
Builders.
Quest builders.
And Evan said, Joe, I'm actually waiting for DQ11S to release. Can't wait for it. Yes, I actually had Dragon Quest 11 on my PC, and Ken knows this story, but my PC had some problems with was it RAM, Ken?
I think so.
I think it was RAM issues. Or it kept on crashing. I had a lot of BSODs. And one of the recommendations that I got online was to reinstall my OS. So I decided to do that. And me being a dumbass, I was messing around so much with the sync settings on Steam that when I reinstalled Steam and tried to download the data again, I messed it up. And I was 30 hours into the game. And I know it's not that much, but this is for a guy that hasn't played games for years and finally have decided to pick one up because it's my favorite game series of all time.
Yeah, and that's such a shame.
I know, and it felt like the universe was telling me, no, Jourdan, you're not supposed to.
Back to drawing.
Yeah, get back to work.
Back to art.
So which is a shame.
No games.
But I'm thinking about getting the one on Switch because I miss the days where you could actually bring your console around, like playing it in the car, on the train, or things like that. And I don't want to be stuck in front of my computer if I can help it, you know. But yeah, Dragon Quest for me, I played so many games of it. And literally, I played thousands and thousands of hours on it. Even Dragon Quest 3 on the Game Boy Color, I've clocked in literally over 700 hours of it.
That's amateur hours, man. 900 hours.
For a Game Boy Color game, or even more than 1,000, I'm sure. But Dragon Ball, or Akira Toriyama in general, has had one of the biggest influences on my art style in terms of how he builds his worlds. He combines technologies from different time periods, different cultures, and having that whimsical touch behind it as well.
You know, like I kind of miss the older.
Serious.
Yeah, I kind of miss the older artwork. Before the Z series.
Yeah.
Where it's more of an adventure looking for Dragon Balls. And then there's a lot more technology with the capsules. That was really interesting. Because Akira Toriyama is actually very technically proficient on drawing mechanical stuff.
And creatures, everything. He's amazing. One of my favorite artists. And I don't say that lightly just because my art style or preference tends to change every once in a while. But when it comes to Akira Toriyama, he's been like a consistent for me. His ability to draw, I know, absolutely beautiful.
It's amazing.
And he has these like dog humans as well, like human creatures as well. And it just feels like a living, breathing world. It's just like a future you want to be a part of. And it all can be quite serious, but at the same time have a playful tone about it. And yeah, Rekko is also right. His robot design is also really unique.
Yeah, for sure.
And actually, let's also read out a couple comments from the chat as well, because people have been dropping some of their favorite games. So going back from the top, Evan said, I guess Suikoden 2 remains as my biggest influence. Xtrian says Gunbound. And Iris says Seiken Densetsu 3.
Secret of
Mana. And Alex and I see. Yeah, I've heard of that game actually.
I'm pretty sure they released a remastered or remake of Secret of Mana.
They've been doing quite a bit of that recently with older RPG games. But yeah, Alexander's dropped a couple ones as well. Klonoa, Mega Man X, and Mega Man Legends 2, Harvest Moon. Man, all of these names are just so nostalgic. It's crazy. But you know what we should do soon though, Ken? Is that we should move on to the Q&A session and also wrap it up with an artwork of the week segment, because there's so much more that we can cover, but it's almost 2 hours of the podcast actually.
Yeah, I feel like we can talk so much more about the past.
Exactly. And it's just so cool, guys, to hear some of the influences that you've had, and even knowing that people have shared some similar experiences or stories as well, like how our parents banned us from playing certain games because it was, a bad influence on us.
I actually had one experience about that.
You want to share
when
that?
I had when I had a PS2, I was playing Okami. That I was so engrossed in the game so much that I tried to sneak out at night to play the game. And then I think for some reason the electricity went out, if I remember correctly. So my dad woke up to fix the electricity, and then he found out that I was playing the game. And then he got really angry because it's late night and I was still playing a game. And then, yeah.
And look at how you turned
really
out,
bad.
Ken. I think your dad was right to ban you, honestly. Who knows what kind of hooligan you would have turned into.
Yeah.
But I think also to tie this back up as well, isn't it amazing that we ended up in the games industry?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That all of these hours that we spent consuming all of these different games and shows, it all ended up influencing and inspiring us to just continue to create. And how even until now that I look back, and hopefully this has been the case for a lot of you guys in the chat, but just getting in touch with the reason why we started drawing in the first place. And honestly, I feel a lot more inspired now too, to go back and create, and maybe even bring back more of those pure influences back into my artwork. Because it's so easy to get caught up with the current trends of the industry.
Oh yeah. I mean, the older artworks of Akira Toriyama, so good. I wish he does more of this kind of style. Yeah. It's really great.
Honestly, I'm getting goosebumps even just talking about it, guys. And Evan said, I started drawing because of comics, but now I wish I was not in comics industry. Feels sad, man. Just want to paint. Well, it still was part of your journey, though. In the same way that I also read a lot of comics, it doesn't mean that I want to be a comic artist as well. And X Trident says, I ended up contributing in games, and when someone's parents post a pic of their kids playing and cosplaying that kid on Twitter, it gives me good feeling. And X Trident is talking about A Hat in Time, I think, because he's working with the company. I think it's Gears for Breakfast or something like that.
Yes, Gears for Breakfast.
Yes.
And so they just released a port for the Switch. I'm pretty sure this is Adi's or X Trident's work. His painting over here.
Yeah, check out his artwork, guys. He's got some really cool stuff. And to hear that, that he's also managed to, what do you call it? I suppose,
seal the deal.
And also, he says it feels like he's giving back. And in the same way, I am too. I really do hope that I manage to create something that could influence someone, and that they maybe can make a podcast in the future and reminisce about how, my creations or some of you guys' creation in the chat have influenced them to pick up art.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, what's so amazing about art in general.
For sure. Speaking about what's amazing about art, I think this might be a good segue to the artwork of the week.
Yes. So we're going to be moving on to the final segment of the podcast, which is called the Artwork of the Week segment, where we share artwork that have left an impression of us, on us, or impressed us throughout the week.
Okay.
We can start off.
Should I start, or do you want to start?
I can start actually.
Okay. I'm gonna move the
would you
screen
mind
back to
Yeah.
you.
So I'm gonna find. All right. So let's see if it's already on me. Okay, it is. So I'm just gonna move on to a different scene. There we go. So the first artwork that I would like to share with you guys for this week is this piece done by Jing Chang. And previously he was known as Crazy JN on ArtStation. And he's been doing these really cool character designs. And you guys might look at this and say, wow, it looks like it's done in 3D. Because it actually was done in 3D. He started off by doing these really cool ZBrush sculpts and just painting over them a bit in Photoshop. And this is just like one of many that he has done. And let me
That's
actually
super
pull up
cool.
a couple more that he's done actually. And the thing is, it doesn't feel like it's done in 3D. It still feels so lively. And the proportions and stylization is amazing. And this is another one that he's done actually. It's so damn good. Like honestly, I
Nice.
think it's just getting to a point where it's hard to tell if he's painted it or done in 3D. And it's just so expressive. The stylization is so brave and bold as well. I'm just absolutely in love with this guy's stuff. So please give him a follow if you're on ArtStation at CrazyJN, or look up Jing Chang. And you certainly will not regret it. It's amazing stuff. And for the last one as well, I chose an illustration by Jan Gisuka. And I really like, what do you call it? The patterns. Yeah, the bold, in a way, almost like a graphic look behind it. Like you can't even tell the difference if it's like an almost abstract shape in the background or if it's, a solid object in the scene itself. But contrasted with the figure that's been fully rendered in the foreground, I think it just makes it feel almost like a fashion shoot of sorts. And yeah, beautiful colors as well.
I really love the shadow pattern that's falling on her. It
Yeah,
kind of enhances the mood.
I think so too.
As if
And look at
this,
the way that the hair has been done as well.
Yeah, I like that.
It-
It makes it seem like it's as if she's behind some sort of window or
Yes.
something.
Or maybe like in
Just
a
opens up
festival where there's like lots of light filtering through.
Yeah, it just opens up the world. Even though the picture is just her sitting there, but
Yeah.
it makes me imagine that there's a lot
Oh yeah,
more.
that
out
you're
there.
right. Actually, it gives a sense of placement and context, not just a
Yeah.
character in a void.
Yeah, it's really cool.
But yeah, really love this piece by Jan Gisuka. So follow her, I guess, on ArtStation at Gisuka. And that will be it for my artwork of the week segment. And I can switch it
You
back
might-
to yours, Ken.
You might want to move the title a bit to the right because it's hidden by the chat.
Oh, I see. Well, I'll be linking it later in the description of the YouTube video.
Alright.
So I've moved it back to your screen now.
Okay, give me 1 second.
So your face is front and center right now.
Oh, what is this?
There we
So
go.
this is actually the winner of the Solar Punk competition held by the studio that Jourdan is currently working at, which is Atom Hop. And what I really like about this piece is the mood. It kind of captures that um, old school feeling because of how dreamy and yellow it is. But there's a nice contrast with how these structures and
Mm-hmm.
they look like airships of some sort. It's just such a nice contrast between the mood and the technical technology of the world.
Oh
And
yeah,
I think
it's
it really
really
makes this
beautiful.
piece really interesting. It really
Straight out
deserves
of
the
like a
number.
Pixar.
Yeah, yeah. I think it deserves being the winner of the competition. It's really nice.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's beautiful.
Did you have a chance to look at all of the
Oh, I did.
entries,
I did.
Jordan?
It's not like I had a say in it though, but I had a look.
Mm, I see, I see. And then the next one
Oh, you might
is
want to
not
say who it's by
actually.
as well,
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry, it's by
and
Jessica
put it
Wolf.
put it front and center too, because it's still being blocked
Yeah,
by
Jessica
my.
Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
On Instagram and ArtStation, her handle is Jessica Wolf. Very simple.
Mm-hmm.
And then my next one is not actually a painting or an artwork, but it's still art. It's a
Mm-hmm.
photograph by this guy called Nick Carver. You can find
Oh, I
him on
see.
Instagram.
So not the Nick
But
Carver from Blizzard, right?
no, they have the same name.
Yeah, both amazing artists.
Yeah. And what I really love about him in general and his photographs is that he has this eye for looking for something extraordinary from something ordinary. So if you look at this laundromat, like if you're just passing by, you won't. Typically, people will just pass by and then not see anything special about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But he actually manages to capture this
Mm-hmm.
this really simple building in such a mood that makes it feel like it's isolated. It looks like it comes straight out of Simon Stahlenhag's painting or Simon
Oh yeah.
Stahlenhag's world.
Oh
I
yeah.
really love the mood.
I'm sure that if you actually
And
saw this scene in real life, it would look like nothing special.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And he actually, it took him 6 months to photo this one
What?
because the first time he tried to take a picture, the condition wasn't right. So it
Mm-hmm.
was, I think it was winter. So the sun rose up quite late, and a lot of people just woke up at
Mm-hmm.
6 or 7. So by the time he woke up, everyone was already up to
Mm-hmm.
to go to the laundromat, right?
I
So he
see.
had to wait 6 months until the summer when the sun rose at normal hours, which is like 5, I think. And then he woke up at 4, and then nobody was up at that time. So he
Hmm.
was able to capture this desolate look for the building.
Oh
So it
man, that's
really
dedication right
shows
there.
exactly, it shows the dedication and perseverance to take just one photograph. And
Yeah,
yeah,
but it's so
it's a
beautiful
lot.
though. The lighting and it just
Yeah.
reads so beautifully, and the mood that it captures too. It's desolate yet peaceful.
Mhm. Yeah,
Oh, it's
yeah.
beautiful. I think it's a great choice, Ken. And it's good to see that you're bringing in photography into the mix for artwork of the week rather than just sticking to, yeah, digital art, which is what I've been doing.
Yeah, maybe next time we can try finding screenshots of from movies or
Oh,
something.
yeah, for sure. It can be, I think we can be a little bit more diverse with it.
Anyways, exactly.
But yeah,
Okay.
that would also wrap up the artwork of the week segment and the podcast for today, guys. Time really has actually flown, and we didn't think that we would spend quite a bit of time just like with each of the shows or even the games that we mentioned. And we barely scratch the surface of the list that we've created. Like, I was gonna talk about Power Rangers, Studio Ghibli, maybe a bit of Sailor Moon as well, even things outside of just media like Lego and the children's books that I would read as well. There's just so many things that have played such a big influence on me and my development as an artist. Yeah, it's way too many, X-Trident, for sure. But yeah, once again, we really do hope that this has sparked some nostalgia in you guys, and maybe it will cause you guys to reflect as well on the roots of your artistic journey, and maybe return you guys back to a time when things were more simple and pure as well. And maybe rejuvenate your creative spirit too.
And you make it sound so mellow.
I thought it would be a more poetic way to wrap things up. But it's been a lot of fun. Like, honestly, I feel like I could just go on for longer and longer.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, any closing words from you, Ken?
No, this was a really fun episode. Just looking back at what influenced us and how we were back then. I think it's good to reminisce once in a while, and as you said, just look back, be nostalgic, and then remind ourselves why we do this in the first place and why we pursued this career, and
definitely,
it's always good to look back at where we came from, and my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this more chill session as well. And if you have, please let us know. We're very interested in hearing back from you guys and hearing feedback, perhaps on what we can improve or what you guys would like to see for future episodes. And if you want more episodes with this kind of vibe as well.
For sure. Let us know if you guys like this episode where we just talk about stuff and not exactly draw or do art,
Oh, and as well, in 2 more weeks, I will be at industry workshops in London with Adam Hawk. So if any of you guys will be there, please let me know. I know that Iris in the chat earlier was at industry workshops, I think last year. So if anyone else is going to be there as well, it would be really cool for us to meet up, just have a chat, and just have a great time together there, watching all of the awesome demos and artists that will be there.
Sounds fun, man. I want to go to industry workshop one day.
Yeah, it's really great. So I'll try and take a few photos and things like that if I remember, or if I have time, or if my studio will let me. Because, if Adam Hawk's paying for it, I don't think it'll be too great of an idea to make it like about the Drawing Table podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll try and keep you guys updated. Maybe make a few posts about it. And we will be announcing our new episodes sometime soon. So we'll see what we can cook up for you guys.
So, if you find this episode helpful or entertaining, please share it with someone else that you think would find it the same as well. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook for updates on future content, and on YouTube to watch our previous episodes. And of course, follow us on Twitch to catch future episodes live. And we also have a Facebook group for our community, which I'm gonna post the link on the chat. And please join in, and that's where you can interact with other artists or people who follow us, and also where you can post your artwork for when we do feedback sessions. And yeah, I think that's it for this episode, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for being a part of it and making it as fun and awesome as it was. And we will
For
see
sure.
you at the next drawing table.
See you guys on the next podcast.
All right, take care,
Bye-bye.
everyone. See you.